with the L'Oreal strapline, "Because I'm worth it." The phrase was first used by L'Oreal in 1973 and struck a chord with its target audience of the women of the day. Women at that time were becoming increasingly independent. Since then, the phrase "because I'm worth it" has become part of our social fabric, not only entering everyday language, but also taking on meaning and above the original intention. In fact, L'Oreal claimed that today around 80% recognize and respond to this positive phrase as a powerful sentiment. So for L'Oreal, it was definitely worth it. And for any business today, that is the key question. Is it worth it? Especially if you have limited resources, you need to focus on your money, time, and effort in those marketing channels that deliver the best returns. So, where does social media fit into all of this? There is tremendous pressure from all sides to be ever present on the major social media channels. FOMO was never more true than in marketing. Whether you're doing major B2B, for a global corp, or a smaller business selling products of any descriptions, be out there or lose it. But whilst being busy on social media can make you feel that you're doing all the things that you can and interacting effectively with existing and potential customers, how much do you actually need to be effective? Is there a danger of excessive time and effort being deployed when it could be diverted to other channels? As a society, we're becoming obsessed with social media, and the temptation to drift into wasting time on social media overkill and justifying it as essential marketing is strong. Social media attribution is not easy. In fact, it is a major problem for a lot of business. Recent research shows that 46% of B2B business say they're not sure any social channels have generated business revenue. 80% use engagement as their primary success metric, and 60% of business measure ROI as one of their top 3 social media marketing challenges. So where does social media fit into all of this? There's tremendous pressure from all sides to be ever present on the major channels. So is there an area that you're struggling with? Then if this is an area you're struggling with, then you're not alone. I'm joined by the social media guru, Yola O'Hara, to try and unpick this social media. Is it worth it? Yola, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, tell me then, you've been involved in this business for some time, I think. How long have you been involved in the world of social media?
Yes, so it's 8 years now, so quite a bit of a time, because social media is just over 20 years old, just a couple of decades really. So 8 years is almost a third of the time that it's been out. So I've seen a change, and it looked completely different when I started, and it is a completely different world today.
And how have you seen that particularly evolve in that 8-year period?
Oh, tremendously. Interfaces changed, new social media platforms reappeared. Social media platforms merged, where they were acquired by bigger businesses. That made changes into how they operate and how they're being used. So nearly every week, if not every day, there is something new, different. There's some kind of a change that we have to keep up as an industry and as businesses providing the service. So it's very important to work with businesses that actually know what they're doing, because we can put you in the right directions. I mean, there are so many new features on LinkedIn alone, on Facebook, which if you spoke to me 2 weeks ago, Tim, you probably would know that it's not my least favorite platform. I'm starting to change my mind. And okay. We probably speak very frequently together, and so this is how quickly things change in social media world, and this is how quickly these changes affect day-to-day business.
And I guess, do you think is, I mean, the way I use it a lot is actually when I'm looking for information. So my expectation of what I'm trying to find has grown in the last 3 or 4 years. Would you see
Yeah.
that's reflected as well?
And there is a lot of things we can do proactively. So there's a lot of control over not just content, but there are lots of other tools that we can use on social media, and we use it for our clients. And that is not just content. There is so much more that we can control, and we can invite people, and we can pick what people we interact with. And um, it's a science, basically. It's a part of business process, day-to-day doing business. And yes, it can be overwhelming, and yes, it can be a source of frustration.
So I think with that in mind, I think we're beginning to explore some of that that world of social media. Is it worth it? Shall I hand over to you now, Yola, to lead us through your journey and guide the participants on our webinar today to think about their own social media and try and answer, help them answer that question about social media. Is it worth it? I'll hand over to your good self.
Thank you. So let me find my presentation so we can look at some visuals, because as you know, my company is called Visually Explained, so we've got to have visuals. So here we go, and let's start from the beginning. Let's hope that works. Yes, it does.
We're away. Yep.
So off we go. So again, good morning, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us in this morning webinar. And let's explore the subject of social media. Is it worth the time and money? As you know, my name is Yola O'Hara. I run Visually Explained. But actually, you know, you might want to ask a question, what actually qualifies me to talk to you about this social media world? I don't actually have a degree in social media, because when I was in my degree gaining years, social media and digital marketing simply didn't exist. So instead, I got the degree in economics. But 8 years ago, I left employment and started Visually Explained. Visually Explained is a social media for business consultancy, specializing in particular in engineering and manufacturing industry. And as I mentioned before, I've spent 8 years in this industry, and I have seen tremendous changes. I still see the changes. They are never going to stop. Social media is not going away, and we are growing with it. I'm still learning every day new things, and new things are becoming more important. Other things are going away, so we have to keep up with the industry. So having that 8 years of experience in the industry is tremendously valuable. And you can't replace it with years in university. If you even if you go into education, digital marketing today, you step out of the academia door and you're already behind, because things would already change. So it's just life changing experience and things that you need to implement in your business. So my idea for today would be that I talk for a bit, and then we will open the forum for questions and answers to give you the real value in this morning webinar. As I said before, social media is only 20 years old, and it's controversial, and it stirs emotions. And even after those years, you would have thought that we would have gone bored with it and put it to bed and stopped talking about. But no, we it's still in front of our minds. In this today's world, we even fight wars with use of social media platforms. Social media is used for politics. It's used for everything. So no, it's never going to go away. But the question is the question that people usually struggle finding answers for is social media actually really worth the time and money when it comes to business and business visibility? So Let's have a look at some common ideas people have about social media, and then we can look at the real benefits that social actually brings to business brand. Social media platforms are now a substantial part of everyday marketing strategy, and the benefits of using it are so great that anyone not implementing it is missing out. Imagine if you don't do any social media, but everyone around you does, and that including your competitors. If your voice is not heard, you will become invisible, and your competitors will have the edge. Posting on social media is like bloodstream of your business. If you stop posting to the outside world, it looks like your business has died. People also think that social media means direct customer and sales acquisition, but it doesn't. There is seldom direct link between social media and gaining clients, although ultimately by raising your profile, clients will come. The client journey in today's world begins with a simple glimpse at your social media post. And that glimpse you can't capture in any data. Someone would have to click on a keyboard for data to be translated and caught by algorithms. But it's that human glimpse that registers your brand in someone's mind. It's something you can't capture, you can't measure. But 6 months down the line, this person might make a phone call and they won't even remember where they saw your brand first. And yet you have inquiry. So there is tremendous value in posting on social media because people see you. You don't see the people who see you, but people see you. So you can't just let go of it and give up on it. That visibility is the most important thing that the business gain through social media. Social media is a lifetime activity when it comes to business. It supports your sales process. It brings you closer to your potential clients. Ultimate goal of social media is to keep your brand recognized and visible. And I'm going to repeat it. Ultimate goal of social media is to keep your brand recognized and visible. If you could get your employees, your business partners, your sponsors, your associates to like and share, comment on your page posts, that will increase your brand awareness and your reputation as a business. Each post that is shared will be introduced to a network of new individuals, which can then lead them to become potential customers. There is no doubt that by simply having a social media page, your brand will benefit. So don't discard Twitter, don't discard Facebook. Create a profile for your business so people can find it there. Treat your social media platforms as search engines. So think about the social media profiles in terms of search engines, a little bit like Google. So creating profiles there. Social media is a networking and communication platform. Has been created by people for interaction, engagement, and communication. Social media marketing allows your business to give a positive impression through a humanization factor. Brands can interact with their audiences by simple actions such as liking, sharing, and commenting. This makes brand look more human. People prefer to do business with people. So when brand responds with a like or a comment, it suddenly becomes so much more than a faceless logo. When a brand is interactive online, it gains trust, credibility, and quality and conversion rates increase. In the 21st century, social media also means customer service. Customers appreciate knowing that when they post comments on your pages, they will receive a personalized response rather than automated message. So we know that brands often try use robots for interacting with audiences. That's not the same. The interaction with a person is more creative. You can easily see when you interact with a robot because the answer is always the same. It's very easily recognizable. If there is another person sitting on the other side of the screen and the interaction is more random, more creative, the words are not always the same. And that's that human side of your brand. And it doesn't need a lot of effort, but it needs now and then that interaction, and it's important. So being able to acknowledge each comment shows that you are attentive of your visitors' need, and that you can see their needs, and you aim to provide the best experience and best customer service. Whether an individual has a question or a complaint, social media will allow you to address the matter using interpersonal dialogue. So you need to think about social media in terms of customer satisfaction and customer journey. Social media is a networking and communication platform, as I already said. It is also a tool for delivering great personal customer experience. So next time you feel a little bit reluctant whether to press on a like or do a comment or do a share, remember that by pressing that button, you are sending a positive message about your brand. That's priceless. So don't be reluctant. Interact. Press those likes and shares for your customers especially, or for potential customers. This is how you build those relationships in maybe in not exactly comfortable way for you, but it works. It makes sense. It's a process. It's how social media works and how it works for your business and for your brand. Posting insightful and well-written content on your social media is a great way to become an expert and a leader in your field. But you first must understand your why, your what, and your who. In other words, you need to know what your business goals are, what service you provide, and who is your ideal customer, and what's the criteria to describe your ideal customer. To become a thought leader requires patience and consistency, and most importantly, the clarity of your goals. So you need a strategy. You need your strategy through the strategy will include building your presence, communicate, being authentic. People are very keen on being authentic. So for example, when I'm speaking, when I'm posting on my personal LinkedIn, I don't get anybody to check my grammar and the way I speak, because it's part of me that I have certain accent and then I express myself in a certain way. So for my personal LinkedIn, for example, it's okay that I stay that I say the way I say things in English, and I'm sure very often people can hear that this is my first language, but it's something specific to me. Nobody else does it. That's my authenticity, and is appropriate for when I am speaking as a thought leader on my personal LinkedIn, when I'm talking about whether this is networking or whether this is something to do with the industry. It's okay to do it this way. Your brands will have certain authenticity as well, because you will use certain language for that as well. So you need to stay on the brand, and just don't, when it comes to being a thought leader, don't try to be who you're not. Basically be yourself. You will connect with the right people through sharing the right content and through being you. You will be sharing content from different sites as well, and from different members of community on social media. And you will promote your authority. And while you do all these things, the right people will follow you, and your network will grow, and your expertise will grow, and people will be connecting with you because they know that you're an expert in a certain field. And then you can lead them gently into your business pages, and encourage them to look at your business pages and your business brand as well. So being able to directly connect with your customers creates a relationship that they will value, and that will allow for you to become an influencer in your field. Social media is a communication tool. Consider using it as well as a complementary research tool for gaining information that will aid you in understanding of your industry, including your competitors. And you might think, oh, she's talking about the boring data that is at the back of interfaces, and we actually can't read it. Well, it's not necessary. I like my data. I like looking at data, and if you know me, that you know that I like looking at graphs and comparing data. But there is a different side that social media allows you to gather extra intelligence. You can do what Tim just demonstrated. You can put out questions in forms of polls, and then you can gather your results. You can also ask direct questions to your audience, and this way find out what your customers' interests are, and preferences are. This way you will get information and data. You'll access data that you wouldn't normally have access to if you didn't have social media presence, because website is not going to give you this sort of interacting live data. Your website has a different value to it and a different function, but social media gives you extra intelligence, extra listening. So as you can see, social media and the return on investment in social media is so much more than just getting that direct sales. It is customer service. It is your brand credibility. It's a human touch for your brand. It allows you to become a thought leader in your field. And it gives you that window into insights that you wouldn't have if you only concentrated on your presence through the website and Google. And talking about that, through social media, you also drive traffic to that website of yours, and it helps with your search engine optimization parameters. So it helps, it brings you more traffic there. It gives more life to the website. So it's two-way to a street, really, because you can put your social media icons on your website, and then you encourage people who visit your website to go to your social media, and then you include your link to your website on your social media post, and that encourages them going to the website. So extra value there. So is social media worth it? Well, I think it definitely is, because it's a bloodstream for your brand. It gives you tools for your brand visibility. It gives your brand that human touch. It's a customer service. It starts off your customer selling process. Is a beginning of a selling process, for the beginning of the sales journey for your customer. You become your thought leader and you get those market insights. But the question is, how do you get it? How much does it cost? How much time does it take? Social media marketing is possibly the most cost-effective part of an advertising strategy, but it's not free. And it takes time, and it is an investment. To maintain your brand visibility on social media, you need to spend approximately 8 hours a month, which translates into about 2 hours a week. But this is only when you actually know what you're doing, when you have a process, when you actually get organized. Otherwise, you spend a lot more, and this is where the frustration comes. And then the question comes, is it actually worth what I'm spending, the time that I'm spending and the effort that I'm putting into it is actually worth it? If it's more than 2 hours a week, then you go into area of frustration and lack of value. So you have 3 choices. You can do it yourself. You can do your social media by yourself. You could employ someone. Usually people employ a student or a junior person. The trouble here is that then you need to teach them to do the job. And if you are struggling with actually understanding what it is, then again, frustration sets off. And the third option is to outsource. In my opinion, outsourcing is the best option. First of all, you already work with someone who knows what they're doing, and they don't need to waste any time on finding out the ways. They just do things that needs doing. Secondly, if you go for outsourcing, you don't need to get involved with extra HR activities. You don't need to worry about personal development, training, etc. These things. And the third thing, if you are at any point, if you need to discontinue the arrangement, usually it's just a month notice, and it's painless. So I hope that I gave you the value of social media, and I also explained the time and money side involved with running social media for your brand. Decision ultimately is yours. Brand is yours, and you know the best what you need for your business and where your biggest pain points are. So I leave it with you to decide what it is that you want to do. And on that note, because you've been wonderful, very patient audience, I would like to give you a gift. My gift for you today is 20 minutes of my time when we connect, and I will do a overview, like a quick audit of your social media platforms. If you are interested, then please connect with me on LinkedIn, or let Tim know and he can put us in touch. But I'd be more than happy to do it for you, and just
Splendid.
see what it is and how I can help.
Great offer. Thank you, Yola. That's really good. Lots of interesting stuff coming through. I get you to drop your slides for a moment, Yola, and we'll sort of go through a few questions. Just one thing that was quite interesting, a point that you raised during that conversation there, was the fact that if you're not engaged with social media, then people do think you've closed down. And I think that was very much exaggerated during lockdown 1, because you saw the questionnaire that I did at the front end of this. Back when I was doing that during after lockdown 1, people were saying, well, I made the mistake of closing down completely, and everyone thought I'd gone.
Yes, yes, and believe it or not, one of my clients, which is a very good example of that, we didn't close social media through the lockdown, and yet the business was closed. It's because it's a high street co-working space. Obviously, through lockdown, all these spaces were closed, the same like pubs and cafes and everything else. But we never stopped, and we got the business through the whole almost 18 months they were closed, but we never gave an impression that the business was off. The business was alive through social media, couldn't open its door, but we were interacting and we were posting and we were very much alive. So when the lockdown stopped and then when the door were open, the business just floated in from the virtual, if you like, into the physical space. So it was tremendously important to keep the communication going, because it's, as I said before, it's like a bloodstream of your business. It's people will come and check. Are you still alive? Okay, there is still something going on. You know, you're still warm. The blood is still flowing, and so that means business is still going. They were just in a bit of hibernation, waiting for the lockdown to stop.
I think that was an exaggerated time, but it's amazing the influence of social media at that point. A couple of questions coming in through both the Q&A and the chat box, so everybody do feel free to ask. Let me just ask the first one that's come through. Sue is asking, Yola, what are your thoughts on individual platforms? Sue is saying they use LinkedIn and Twitter, but would it be good to hear the pros and cons of Instagram and Facebook? And as Sue is noticing that you actually use those particular streams as well. What do you think your thoughts are with that?
Yes, so I think in a day where we have scheduling tools like you can schedule posts to all 4 platforms from one place. I think when we've got this market is quite robust, and there are different tools. I use Hootsuite, but people can schedule through. I think Canva is a free, can be free tool. What I'm trying to say is, choosing one platform in 21st century is probably not the way to go. I would start finding the way of promoting brand on all 4 platforms in the same time with a minimum time spent on it. It's definitely worth to go with complexity rather than almost like specializing on one platform. I think that idea that we should do one platform, one social media platform, but do it well, was very alive when I was starting about 8 years ago. But with time, because we have those tools that allow us to post simultaneously to 4 platforms, it really doesn't make any sense to miss out on other platforms. If you think each platform will be accessed by different people, then you know, by being present on 4, you're accessing 4 people in the same time. When if you just choose Twitter, for example, then you only choose one person. But each platform has a slightly different energy to it, and the interface has slightly different has different I forgot my word. Using different platforms has different feel to it. So basically, Twitter has a little bit less energy than Instagram. Instagram is much more energetic, and you'll find that people follow you quicker there than they will follow you on Twitter. However, Twitter is more popular with technical industry. So I find that engineering and manufacturers have more engagement on Twitter, but equally quite a bit of engagement on Instagram as well. Facebook is changing. Facebook is changing. There are things happening on Facebook. Not everybody is getting those changes at the moment, but the changes that I see are good. And Facebook is becoming more of a usable tool for business. There was a long period of time that Facebook, I think from 2016, they made a change in algorithm, and business side of Facebook became really hard for us to crack and use. LinkedIn is tremendously useful, and we have a lot of control over what we do, how we deal with it, and we can do a lot of things. So each platform has a different feel to it, a slightly different purpose, and you will probably find that that the same person doesn't follow you on each platform, but they will just choose one. So you might find that in your audience there will be someone who prefers to use Twitter, and this is where they should find you. Or they prefer to use Facebook, because some people are very focused on just or used to just one platform, or some will just go on Instagram. So that's why I'm saying don't choose just one. As a business, as a brand, go on all four and see what happens.
And I think the next two questions I'll slightly roll into one, because I think there is I think it's a good question. So Natalie asks, how many posts per week would you recommend for the major platforms? While Patrick is asking, since regularly posting, I can see some clear organic growth in followers across our more established platforms, i.e. Facebook and Instagram. But how can I grow Twitter and LinkedIn followership?
Right. Okay. So there are lots of questions in one question.
So basically, how many posts per week would you recommend?
How many posts per week?
And how do we grow?
Okay.
So Twitter,
depends on your brand. Depends on depends what industry you're in. I would say for engineering manufacturing, you probably need couple of posts a week. But for more communicative, more chatty brands, I wouldn't go more than 16 posts a month. That's one post every other day. But I'm starting to think that even that is a little bit too frequent. So I would go down to 12, because per month, that is 12 per month. So I would say minimum 8 per month, maximum 12, 16 if at push, because apart from the regular posting, you will have probably some ad hoc content, because things will happen, nice things will happen, there will be special days, there will be some unexpected things, so you will add this on top of your regular posting. So that's the frequency. And there was a question how to
and the
grow.
other one was saying, that Patrick said he can see some clear organic growth in his followers across what he's saying is more established platforms, which are Facebook and Instagram. And I think this is a reflection in his particular type of business, because now he wants to know how he can grow Twitter and LinkedIn at the same time. And I think this is a business that not only appeals B2C, but actually then considering the B2B market as well. So he's looking at two different strands, if I've got that right, Patrick.
So a starting point is always what your ideal client is, or who your ideal client is. So you've got to write it down, break it down by location, by type of company, by what type of person you're looking for. So you need to break down your ideal client criteria. Once you've got it, you've got to get organized. It's very simple. You've got to get organized. Once you've got this all written down, then you can start putting those criteria into searches. On LinkedIn, you can use people through search by putting those criteria on and using the all filters. In Twitter, you can also start using searches. So you can start, well, you can try hashtags, you can try location, you can try typing just a keyword and see what it comes from, and then start picking up on accounts to follow. And once you follow them, there is a probability they will follow you back. With Twitter, you have to remember it's slow. Twitter is slow. It's slower than Instagram. So you'll find that even though, so the percentage, the proportion of who you follow and who's going to follow you back will be lower on Twitter. It's just how Twitter is. I mean, Twitter is also for chatting and for gossiping and for ranting and for, you know, having, this is how people get into the higher numbers of followers on Twitter. But if you're just promoting your brand, then you need to use it as your presence, but don't expect a lot of back. So if you really have a lot of engagement on Facebook and Instagram, then that's probably your chatty place. This is where your customers are and when they interact. But leave that little window open for Twitter and let those who prefer Twitter find you there. But proactively look for them as well and follow the right people. So then, because then they get notified and then they notice you and then they have a chance to follow you back.
And would you, within some of the methods, you know, whether it's again, you said you're falling back in love with Facebook.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, a little bit. But would the messaging be different that you'd use on Facebook and say LinkedIn and Twitter be different?
No, because you've got the same brand. Brand doesn't change from because you were speaking about it on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. The brand narrative and your brand tone never changes. Your brand has already established some kind of a voice and a message, and this message doesn't change. So you can use, for your brand, you can use the same message for across all platforms. But once something ad hoc happens, when something, you know, when there's an event or something that you want to quickly share, then you might share it on Facebook. You might find it inappropriate for LinkedIn, for example. So then the platforms will slightly vary, and people will be able to find slightly different things on your Facebook than on your LinkedIn, for example. But no, in general terms, use the same language and use the same message for all, because it's one brand, and we're talking about just that one brand.
Okay. And do you think there is, I know this is a common question, I'm sure I've heard you answer this one before, but do you think there is a time of day that you should be posting? You know, is there a time when you feel that actually what you write and say has more influence?
Again, the question is about knowing your audience. And if you speak to businesses and business people, then they probably will dip in and out the social media throughout the day. So really, it doesn't matter all that much as long as you're posting, because you also need to remember that algorithms change so much. So for example, for Facebook, you're not being fed what is being recently posted. You're being fed something that an algorithm is second guessing that you want to see. And very similar on LinkedIn. So choosing meticulously those times of a day when to post, it's almost, you can, and if it works for you, that's fine, but don't pay too much put too much value and don't put too much time into it. It's more important is that you post, and you also need to recycle those posts, because not everybody will see it, even if you post it in the perfect right time for your audience. You know, the good example is would be if the business was targeting moms of young babies until they're 3 months old. They sleep usually in the morning, they sleep about 10 o'clock. So you might say, okay, about 10 o'clock all babies go to bed, we're gonna post then, because all the moms are gonna, I'm gonna read that post. Fine, except some of these moms might have cold and might be really under the weather and not be bothered with checking their social media. So you need to post it again, maybe next week. So these moms who will then recover will see it. So you can see, even if you put it in a perfect time niche, you still have to recycle. You still have to post it in a different time of the day. Because what if this baby doesn't sleep today at 10 o'clock and it sleeps at 4 o'clock? You know, mom will be able to see it at 4 o'clock. You can't predict it, human behavior, to the last second of the day.
And it's actually quite interesting, the longevity change and moving away from that subject. And finally, we're coming up to the end of our time. Can you believe? One thing I noticed that about some posts that I think about what I've done on LinkedIn, I'm amazed about the longevity of some of them, where I get some likes. Yes, I do get some likes, really. And it's sometimes it's almost 8 months since I put up something. So I'm amazed at that longevity of some of it.
Yeah. Yes, because it's that's the algorithm. Because many of us don't get this your post straight away when you post it. Sometimes I see your post about a week later, 3 weeks later, when it pops up to the top of my timeline, and that's not that. So that means that these posts are being fed to us not in real time, but through the algorithm that is second guessing. That's why I'm saying let's not pay let's not spend too much time on working out, or let's not be held back by, oh, is that the right time to post? Shall I post it? No, actually post it. Most important is get that content out and see what happens. Because as you say, Tim, many of our posts are then delivered a week or 2 or 3 weeks later. Yes, I get likes on posts that were out there for like 3 months ago. So yes.
10:57. I'm mindful. 3 minutes to go. Yola, I'll let you have final thoughts. Social media, is it worth it? What should we be doing?
Well, I don't think that social media is going anywhere. For business, absolutely, it's a must. It's got to be built into the running day-to-day business processes. It can't be omitted. If the business doesn't have social media presence in the 21st century, it's missing out. It's simply missing out. So it's something that should be looked into, and that can be made sleek operation, and it should be considered. So I would like businesses, especially engineering and manufacturing businesses, to look into digital marketing and to start their presence today if they don't have it yet.
Perfect. And for me, I've been writing down lots of notes as we go. I've written things like, great customer experience. Even the fact, the influence it has on, treating it as a social media engine, interaction, trust, credibility, and customer service. Strong words that we all live by.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, everybody, this morning. We will finish it on time. Obviously, Yola is on LinkedIn and all those things. So if you've not linked up with her, or me for that matter, I'd be really pleased to do that. For those who are, what's coming up next from the Chamber? Well, as soon as tomorrow, I'm looking at my list of participants. I will see you physically, a couple of you, tomorrow in Swindon, when we do our Swindon Awards launch for Business Awards. So do have a look at the website there. I look forward to meeting you both, but it just remains for me to thank you all for attending this morning. Really appreciate it. And thank you for being members, and thank you for participating in our own poll at the beginning, because yes, you do influence the thinking of the Chamber and the government as well when we put those results to them, and the Bank of England as well. So thank you ever so much, and I look forward to speaking with you and seeing you all very soon. Thank you, and good morning
Thank
to
you
you.
very much.